What's going on, everyone? Jeremy here from the Quartering. I hope you have a wonderful day. We had another massive bombshell leak last night, including a whistleblower from the actual company, from Pfizer, who shared some company emails that had some very spicy things in them. Now, I will always preface this by saying I am not a doctor. I am not an anti-vaxxer. I think people should, make the best health decision for themselves. And I do genuinely believe that there are a lot of people that should strongly consider getting the poke. And so, I don't want anyone to mischaracterize this. I'm covering the news around it. You hear me, Susan? So last night, there were more Pfizer leaks. Whistleblower goes on record, reveals internal emails from Chief Scientific Officer and Senior Director of Worldwide Research discussing the poke. We want to avoid having the information out there about fetal cells floating out there. And before we get into all the spicy details, the only reason I'm allowed to cover, or I continue to be able to cover these, is because I have strong channel sponsors in addition to your support. Check out Private Internet Access. Huge shout out to this video's sponsor, Private Internet Access. Hey, October is Cybersecurity Month, and they've got an amazing offer for you. It's 2021. If you don't have a VPN yet, there are several reasons why you'll want to sign up today. One, you can browse anonymously. Keep your browsing habits to yourself. You can keep your data away from big tech so that they can't resell it. And you can access region-locked content so you can open up a whole new catalog of online content to enjoy, whether it's anime or movies that might not be available in your area. You can get at it using a VPN. And the VPN I use on my phone, my tablets, my PCs, and my laptops is Private Internet Access, and they've given an amazing offer. It is just $2.08 a month, plus 2 months free, plus 3 free years of Private Internet Access's antivirus. If you haven't signed up today, use my link in the description or pinned comment down below to get Private Internet Access today. The word itself is it's a little weird to talk about, This was released last night. Project Veritas released the 5th video in its poke investigative series. Today, sitting down with interview from an insider, Melissa Strickler. She leaked internal emails that show corporate executives telling staff to be secretive about the use of human fetal tissue in laboratory testing of the poke. Now, I don't know if this is a common practice or not. One suspects that it is. It's one of those things where, it falls into that, like, gross but maybe necessary. I don't know. I'm not a doctor. Certainly, they didn't want that getting out because that would be used. It just doesn't look good. Like, hey, you buying a bunch of feti? Is that what you say? You going down to the clinic and buying a barrel of feti to test on? Their chief scientific officer, Philip Dormitzer, admits that the tissue is used in the company's poke program, but the employee should stick to Pfizer's polished narrative, omitting any mention of this to avoid any issues with the public. So essentially, yes, Pfizer, if people go into a clinic and they choose to, remove the life from their body, Pfizer is purchasing those. Now, some of you, many of my viewers, are probably not surprised to hear that. I actually am. I thought that when people said that kind of stuff was going on, that they were just being crazy. Now, they use particular cells are ultimately derived from these fetus. Dormitzer said, on the other hand, the Vatican Doctrinal Committee has confirmed that they consider it acceptable for pro-life believers to be immunized. Pfizer's official statement couches the answer well as it should be provided in response to outside inquiry. The real question is how often are they, how many of these things are they buying and what all gets tested on them? This is copying Vanessa Gelman from our communications group. We have an approved answer to this question, which she probably can provide. The cells used for testing are ultimately derived from said BDI. On the other hand, the Vatican Doctrinal Committee has confirmed that they consider it acceptable for pro-life believers to be immunized. I don't really think those two things are related. I think the bigger question is, you know, I guess this may be appalling to some of my viewers to hear this. And for that, I do kind of apologize for bringing this up, but it is important that we know these things that happen in the background. Now, I would be shocked if they didn't do this kind of testing all the time. I would be surprised if it was only for this. So again, I strongly support and believe in the work that James O'Keefe does. And I think that he's one of the only real journalists left out there. But there are things here presented in a way that, you would think this is only for the coof poke. And it's likely happening with, everything they do. And that's a bigger question to me. Vanessa Gelman, who serves as their senior director of worldwide research, encouraged staff to be careful when talking about the cells in a company's poke program. From the perspective of corporate affairs, we want to avoid having this information on the cells floating around out there. Well, of course you would, because it would be a PR disaster. The risk of communicating this right now outweighs any potential benefit we could see. You mean the billions of dollars you're making? Particularly with general members of the public who may take this information and use it in ways that we don't want out there. Well, I think that the general public should probably know that you're using, that you're testing on, these things. Expired human lives, babies' lives. I think the general public, hey, maybe the other two brands don't do that. Maybe Johnson & Johnson doesn't do that. And maybe that would help me make a decision of which one to get. I'm actually curious, do they all do this type of testing? Maybe the J&J one didn't do that. And maybe that would make me feel better about choosing that one. There's a lot that goes on behind the scenes with medical testing that the general public doesn't actually want to know. The things, that happen to animals, absolutely heartbreaking. And I don't like to follow this kind of statement up with a but. However, it's a necessary evil. I don't think there's a consistent way to do testing unless you want human signups, which we already do. So, to me, I think this is the ick factor is extremely high. I would be interested to know if the other two companies do the similar testing, and maybe that would, make me choose one over the other. And it's also, they know that this looks bad, and they're actively trying to hide it. In another email thread, Gelman doubled down on being secretive about this information. We've been trying as much as possible not to mention this. One or more cell lines with an origin that can be traced back to human baby tissue has been used in laboratory tests associated with the poke program, she said. The whistleblower who shared the emails with PV, Pfizer manufacturing quality auditor Melissa Strickler, said that she was not sure whether it made it into the final product. I don't think they put it in the product. I would assume they do it for testing. This says, are not used to produce our actual poke, which consists of synthetic and enzymatically produced components. I don't think there's enough to actually use that as a supply. They're being so deceptive in their emails. It's almost like it's in the final poke. It's just made me not trust it. Well, I can be reasonably sure here that it is not. I don't think the supply would be enough. Let's just speak about it logistically. Strickler said that PV was the only place she'd go to tell her story. I have no one else to turn to when my company won't be honest with me. When I was told to do this and trust PV and go with you guys by lawmakers, by lawyers, she said. The whistleblower has created a Give, Send, Go crowdfunding campaign for herself. And again, I always... when there's money involved, $123,000, I think it makes me a little more concerned. Obviously, this whistleblower is probably going to be fired or has been fired. And, you know, giving them some money would probably be helpful. But I always have, I mean, when I talked about in order so I can be like consistent, I have a huge problem with the Facebook whistleblower having a GoFundMe and making hundreds of thousands of dollars too. So I'm not saying that whistleblowers have to go live in poverty. I'm just saying it does add a little more of an ick factor to me. But it's par for the course, I suppose. Like, this person will definitely be fired. I'm not so sure that the Facebook whistleblower is really risking anything. It's interesting as all this stuff leaks out, but what I also think is really interesting to me is that YouTube, all these videos are still up on YouTube. I'm actually shocked that 1.4 million views, 1.1 million views. I am shocked that these videos are still up on YouTube, because while, you know, I assume PV has had these pre-scrubbed by somebody, has had them scrubbed by you know, an advocate or you know, somebody at YouTube, because I am shocked that the videos are still up there. I hope you enjoyed this video. Remember, before you leave, to check to make sure you're still subscribed. You leave a like on the video, and also, if you don't currently have a VPN, take advantage of this amazing offer from Private Internet Access. It's the VPN I use on my phone, my laptop, and my desktop. And not only will you be protected, but you'll be helping support the channel. It's a win-win.